Healing to raise my children well. Noble. But do I have the time for it, or is it too late now? Now I don't even have time to pee, let alone self-reflect and revisit old wounds. Oh, I hear you. But what if healing wasn't about becoming a new person, but about showing up moment by moment with more awareness, more softness, more intention? What if healing was quiet? What if it meant tiny shifts and small pauses? What if it meant a second to breathe before we react? What if it meant saying, "I'm sorry," or putting a hand on your heart when you wish that someone else would have held it? Hi there. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Parenthood and Relationship Podcast. I'm your host, Markella Kaplani, a psychologist, a parenthood and relationship coach, and a parent myself. Together, we explore the transformative journey of parenthood and its profound impact on our relationship with ourselves, our partners, and our children, so that we can be present and show up as we envision without having to do more. Let's get into today's episode. Parenting for so many of us brings back parts of ourselves that were once overwhelmed, unseen, or unprotected. And in those moments of messiness and heartache, we can catch ourselves wondering, how can I heal? How can I help my child feel safe when I didn't heal and fully feel safe myself? If that has ever come up for you, then come closer. You'll love this discussion. Last week in episode 57, we talked about the invisible family patterns that shape our parenting, the old rules and the emotional blueprints that we absorbed without even realizing it. But today, we are moving from noticing to nurturing. In this episode, the goal is to explore how we can start to show up differently, with more presence, with repair, and compassion for the small wins that no one else sees. Here's what we will be exploring. For one, we are looking into why healing while parenting feels so hard, and why it really matters nonetheless. We're also looking at what healing really looks like in the messiness of family life and what tiny shifts can make a big difference. And finally, how we can stay connected to our growth even when we slip. Oh, and of course, at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you a journaling exercise where you can gently explore how you can heal at your own rhythm. Bonus is this week's newsletter, which will include these prompts that I'll give you at the end of the episode, plus an exclusive tool just for you. Let's begin. One of the hardest things that no one really warns us about is that becoming a parent doesn't just wake up this love for this new little person. It also wakes up the parts of you that were never fully loved along the way when you were a child, when you needed it most. And suddenly, you're not just parenting your child, you're parenting yourself as well. So basically, you are being asked to do something incredibly brave and also very psychologically consuming. You're being asked to offer emotional safety when you may have never truly felt it, to model calm when your nervous system was wired in chaos, to stay when your instinct, built in childhood, was to shut down or retreat or maybe even lash out. This is what makes healing in parenting so deeply courageous. You're not healing in some quiet retreat. You don't have all the time in the world. You are healing in real time with small hands tugging at you, a to-do list that never ends, and your own inner voice that is sometimes screaming for attention. Let's be honest, this work is messy. It doesn't come with gold stars. No one sees that moment when you almost repeated an old pattern, but paused instead. No one celebrates that breath that you took instead of yelling, or that apology that you whispered after reacting, or that time that you chose connection even when your own tank was empty. But I see it. And if you're here, I know that you've been doing it quietly, imperfectly, but with more heart than anyone can measure. This isn't about being perfect. This is about being present. And here you are, present with me, committing to yourself and to this process. You are learning how to come back to yourself over and over again so that your child doesn't have to grow up wondering if they're too much or if they're not enough. It's about letting your inner child see you do what no one else did for them. And maybe that means taking a breath. Maybe it means asking for help. Maybe it means saying, I'm sorry, I'm still learning, even though no one else ever said that to you. The truth is that healing in parenthood often doesn't look like healing. It looks like surviving differently. It looks like choosing softness even when you were taught hardness, sitting with discomfort instead of silencing it. It looks like letting your child express emotions that you were once punished for. And it looks like starting over and over and over again. And even though it's exhausting, even though it feels endless, this work matters. Because your child doesn't need you to be perfect, but what they do need is a parent who is awake, a parent who will reflect and who is brave enough to try again. And the beautiful paradox, every time that you give that to them, you're giving it to yourself too. So, let's talk about what healing really looks like. Not the Instagram version, but what it truly looks like. Not that quote on a candle version, but the version that happens on the floor of your kid's room when you're feeling like you didn't show up the way that you wanted to. Because healing isn't always graceful. Sometimes it looks like that deep breath that you barely managed to take just before snapping. It looks like maybe locking yourself in the bathroom for 30 seconds just to remember you're more than your reaction. It may even look like breaking down after everyone is asleep because holding it together all day was so costly and it was so heavy, more than anyone knows. Healing is not a finish line. It's a series of micro moments where we catch ourselves, where we choose differently, even if just by 1% or 5%. It's walking away from the urge to shut down and instead turning back toward our child, toward our partner. It is saying, I'm sorry, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm working on staying calm, and truly, I'm not mad at you. It's letting your voice soften, even when your impulse is to protect yourself with distance or control. And most of all, healing is learning to speak kindly to yourself after you don't get it right. To say, that's hard, and I'm still worthy. I'm getting there. We often think about healing as becoming someone new, and we think of it in terms of permanence. But if we're being honest, healing is being more attuned to what is happening inside of us, being more willing to pause and repair, being more gentle with the past and with the present. Healing doesn't look like never getting triggered. It doesn't look like always knowing what to do. It doesn't look like parenting without mistakes. And it definitely doesn't look like raising the perfect children that will validate our own worth and our own growth. What it does look like is catching ourselves mid-pattern and choosing something softer. Saying, I'm sorry, without feeling shame or guilt and meaning it. Letting our child feel something that we were never allowed to feel. Healing is reminding ourselves that this is new and we are learning. So let's take a moment to self-reflect. Can you remember a moment, just one, where you showed up differently this week than your own parents might have. Maybe you stayed. Maybe you made room for a hard feeling. Maybe you admitted that you don't have all the answers yet, but that you're there, present. That is healing, even if no one clapped, even if no one pointed it out, and even if it was followed by an unpleasant, not so great moment after. Those small shifts, those that may be barely visible, they are healing, and they are enough. So now that I hope that I've convinced you, now that you know what healing is and what it isn't, and hopefully now that you have a more realistic version of what it is that you should be expecting of yourself, let's move on to 4 shifts that could really help. Look, when we think about healing, we often imagine that it will require massive changes, like a total nervous system reset, a trauma-free home, a schedule full of time for journaling and yoga and therapy and inner child work. But really, the most important healing happens in the cracks, in the small pauses between the beautiful chaos. In those 3 seconds that you buy yourself before reacting, in that quiet, ordinary choice that no one notices. And so today, I want to offer you a few small shifts that are just as impactful. Tiny things that you can do while parenting that don't require time or perfection that you and I and anyone else will ever reach. They're simple, but they're not small in the difference that they make. Because these are the things that actually rewire us. So the number 1 shift is a self-compassion check-in. Once a day, even if it's in the car or while washing the dishes, place your hand on your heart just for a moment. And then say to yourself, I am doing the best that I can with what I know today. And if you want to add to that, you can say, and that is enough. This is not just a pretty affirmation. This is a disruption of the voice inside you that says, you're not good enough. You're not doing enough. You are not healing fast enough in order to protect your children. Over time, this becomes the voice inside you, one that your child will one day, by the way, also learn to internalize. So that's a double win. Shift number 2 is to normalize rupture and repair. You are not always going to get it right. You're going to snap. You're going to miss the cue. You will say something that you'll regret. But that moment isn't the actual problem. It's what comes after it that defines the relationship. Try this the next time that you feel off. Say, I'm sorry I raised my voice earlier. I felt overwhelmed and I'm really working hard on staying calm. I love you and your feelings matter to me. No shame, no excuses, just truth and repair. When your child experiences that, they learn that you're not perfect. They learn that love doesn't just disappear because of a hard moment. They learn emotional safety, and so do you. Shift number 3 is focusing on our inner child in real time. Triggers aren't always problems. They're information. As I always say, they're alerts. So when you feel a big reaction rising inside of you, ask gently, what would little me need right now? Not what your child needs, what you need. Maybe you need to be reminded, I'm safe. Maybe you need someone to say, it's okay to make mistakes. Or maybe you just need to step away and breathe for 30 seconds, which counts as care. Speak that sentence that you're thinking of gently to yourself. And then if it feels available, let it shape how you respond to your child in that moment too. You are not just healing. You are translating safety in real time. Finally, shift number 4 requires that we celebrate these tiny wins, even if no one else notices. At the end of the day, before you scroll, before you ruminate, ask yourself this: what did I do today that was different? Like we said before, maybe you paused, or maybe you asked for help. Maybe you let your child cry without shutting down or getting agitated, or maybe even you took a long breath before entering the room and allowed that to be okay. Write that down. Whisper it, or just notice it, because the world will not clap. The world hasn't seen it, but these are the things that change everything. This is how the cycle starts to break. It breaks quietly and gently and imperfectly, and you don't have to reparent every version of yourself in one generation. You just have to keep showing up. One breath, one pause, one loving attempt at a time. Before we close, I want to offer you a few gentle questions. Not with the expectation that these will help you figure it all out, but just with the intention to invite a little bit more awareness, a little bit more softness into your healing process this week. Here is your journaling prompt for reflection purposes. Where have I already begun to heal, even if no one else noticed? What is one small shift I can offer myself this week when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel triggered? What would it feel like to celebrate my growth, even when it's messy, even when it doesn't look like healing yet? Let these questions live with you for a while. And if you're ready to take this a step deeper, I've included a special exclusive tool in this week's newsletter. Something to help you track these small wins and emotional shifts that are so easy to miss in the middle of the day-to-day. You can sign up at markelikaplani.com/newsletter to get it delivered straight to your inbox. No pressure, just support if it is something that you're ready for. Because this journey doesn't require more self-discipline. It asks for more self-compassion. And that is what I'm here to help you do. My friend, you are not healing on a mountaintop, around nature, under the sun, with endless time for meditation. You're healing in the middle of snack crumbs and screen time limits and grocery lists and school drop-offs. You are healing while you're navigating your own stories and trying to hold space for someone else's. That is not just parenting. That is profound strength and courage. And so before we go, I want to remind you that your children do not need you to be fully healed. They need you to just keep healing, to stay present, to be willing, to repair, to choose softness when you can, and to come back to it when you weren't able to. So thank you. Thank you for being with me through this May series, focusing on healing the past to parent better. It has been such a privilege to walk alongside you, to hold up this mirror to your strength and your inner tenderness, your growth. Next week, we are going to hear from a guest expert and explore this theme in depth with fresh eyes, so don't miss it. And next month, we're shifting gears a little. After this more personal work, this self-connection and reflection, if you will, I want to bring in some other connection. What do I mean by that? Well, in June, we will be exploring emotional intimacy in the messiness of family life. Because connection with our partners is not a luxury, it's a lifeline, and you deserve to access it, even in the middle of the mess. So I'll see you next Sunday. Until next time, go gently. You're not behind, you're becoming. Bye-bye.